I love this time of year. There's so much to celebrate and so much going on. And of course, believers in Jesus are celebrating Christmas. But there's actually another holiday this time of year that Jesus himself celebrated that sometimes we think of as, oh, it's that other religions, but really it's part of our story as well. And that's Hanukkah. John 10, verse 22 and 23 says, "At that time, the feast of dedication took place at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the colonnade of Solomon." Jesus celebrated Hanukkah. It's not one of the biblical feasts, but it is a very important celebration. It is the winter festival for the Jewish people. It celebrates a time when Israel had been under the rule of the Seleucid Empire. Alexander the Great had died. There had been a fight over who was going to take over. The Seleucids had won, and they came in and basically began to rule over Israel after a whole lot of fighting had taken place beforehand. One of the Seleucid leaders, Antiochus Epiphanes, decided that he didn't like the Jewish people and he was going to eliminate them, not through slaughter, but through making their religion illegal. And in the process, he outlawed the Sabbath, he outlawed circumcision, he outlawed any worship to any gods other than Greek gods, and he went so far as to profane the temple, slaughtering pigs there and erecting a statue of Zeus. When they talk about uh, the profaning of the temple in Revelation, they're actually hearkening back to this. And finally, the Jewish people had enough, and under the Maccabean revolt and Judah Maccabeus, known as the Hammer, they revolted. They actually won. This is a David and Goliath story, and became independent again. And Israel was actually independent for almost 100 years. But then they arrived at the temple to rededicate it, found it profaned, found it just a mess, and they had to go through a rite of purification. They didn't have enough oil even to light the menorah in the Holy of Holies. It had to be a special blend of olive oil. It would take a week to prepare more. They only had one cask sealed by the high priest. That was good, and it was enough for one day. They needed 7 more days, and God provided a miracle and let this oil burn continuously for 7 days. And then, as soon as the new oil was ready, that's when it ran out. It's an amazing miracle. It's a sign of God's love and provision for the Jewish people. But so often we kind of forget it and go, okay, yeah, it's a Jewish thing. But we forget that we follow a Jewish rabbi. Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus, was Jewish. This was an important day for him and for his people, so much so he went to Jerusalem to celebrate it. It it's memorialized today by the lighting of the menorah. It's a special menorah called a Hanukkah, where each night they light a new candle in it to represent a day that the oil burned in the menorah in the temple. It's a several days and it's a wonderful festival. But the point is the lights pointing up. It's a sign of worship to God. Well, how amazing is it that Jesus in John 8 is there celebrating, and in John 10 he talks about, I am the way, the truth, and the light. He points out that he is the light of the world, that salvation's come through him because he is the Messiah. He's Jewish, that this celebration points directly to him. And that as God let his light burn during that and extend out, Jesus becomes the light of God to us, and his light should be filling us. We love the Christmas lights, we love all the houses and the lights on the trees and everything else, but even that all points back to the fact that Jesus is the light. Whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, it's a season of light, God's light upon a world in darkness, that he can illuminate, eliminate the shadows, and bring his light and hope to anyone who seeks after him. The festivals aren't always overlapping, they are this year, but they are deeply intertwined because they both celebrate God's love and light to his people, whether they're the Jewish people, whether they're the followers of his son. We're all together. We're reminded that we as Gentile believers are grafted in to God's chosen people. It's an interesting story, and that's something for another video. But during this time, we celebrate both Hanukkah and Christmas because they both represent God's love to us, God's gift, God's provision, God's light. So I would encourage you, look up the story of Hanukkah, look up the foundations of it, and let it enhance your worship of the God who loves you so much that he gave everything for you. May you have a wonderfully blessed holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy Hanukkah. May God shine his light upon you.